Hey, folks, sorry about that. Somehow technology kicked in and decided to cut my internet out. So I apologize. But like I said before, you know, we have with us a man that has done so much for not only Baltimore, but just for people all over the US. And I wanted to definitely bring him on here, ladies and gentlemen, because of the fact that he has written a book called The Art of Leadership: Success Strategies for the 21st Century. Now, I'm going to be real honest with you, with everybody on this one. This one struck a chord with me just because, someone who has had a history of serving under some really great leaders and then some that were not so good leaders. We'll just be blunt with it that, they were very toxic leaders. Um, but what I really loved is how the doctor here decided to decided to break it down into categories for us. Uh, Dr. Leroy, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure because your head was down just a little bit. I was like, oh no,
No, I'm sorry. I was writing down something. I'm sorry. I was writing down something.
you're good. Hey, we're on par for this show right now. Okay. Last week I forgot to unmute. This week we had
Oh,
technical difficulties. You know what? I love this show. I love doing this live. It's great.
and
But
and and I
anyways,
always say this. I always say this that when you have these obstacles and things that get in your way, it means that the
mhm,
information that's about to be given is so important that
yes.
they don't want folks to be able to receive it and get it. So you persevered through it. So absolutely.
It's one of those things that I've been shown so many things as of late that like, oh, you should do this. I have some people that support me so much. I have a friend of mine. Her name is Tiffany Roman. She has her own web show called Small Biz Highlights, and she helped me
Mm,
to get the layout and everything for my overlays and stuff. So, I have great people in my life that support
mm,
me. That it makes it so much better to know that even though those little things are coming up every once in a while with us, that we can still do it. And though when we
right.
have these
Right.
hiccups like technology,
Yeah.
then it's just a hiccup. That's it. And we just
Right.
press forward with it. But I digress and get back to this. But like I said earlier, I really loved how you broke down leadership into, the three main categories. And this is what he
Mhm,
sent to
mhm.
me, ladies and gentlemen, was leaders are leaders because they were called to be leaders. Leaders are that leaders because they were asked to lead, or there are those who are leaders because they want the leadership position because of what it brings. And when I saw that, I was like, that is absolutely true. You can't even you can try to, wrap it up in a little nice little bow and throw it out as something different. But no, it's literally those three things. There are leaders that are leaders because they were called to be leaders. There are leaders that are like what I've had in my past is I've been a leader, but it was not because I chose to. It's just because I was thrown into it. So I had to learn on the fly. And then, of course, there are those leaders that are they don't need to be leaders at all because they really don't, because all they want is just whatever that position held. And this leads into my first question to you is, what do you think are the challenges of being a leader in the 21st century compared to the centuries before?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I think the challenges have been in this 21st century. Honestly, I think it's been technology. It's been a good thing, but it's also
Hmm.
been a bad thing. It's taken us to places that we never even thought that we could go. I always say that Steve Jobs was one of the greatest minds of this, that we've ever seen, because he gave us the answer to a problem that we didn't even know that we had. And it was technology. It was taking us where we could do virtually everything right in our hands. But at the same time, what that did for us, as leaders, I think it caused us to be on the negative side of it, or the con side of it. It caused us to be not as intellectually, motivated, because we're just, okay, it's the press of a button, it's the use of this, as opposed to having to critically think. I think that's the major difference between leaders of that came before us and now. They were more critical thinkers, because they had to figure it out without having to, how do I get this group of people or this message to these people to move towards one vision, one kind of objective, one assignment, without the use of outside means. They didn't have the distractions that today's leaders have. Today's leaders, I believe, have a number of distractions that come along with that position. And one of the things that I've noticed in this day and time, to be honest with you, and me and one of my closest friends, we talk about this all the time, because we started this job together. My major is hotel restaurant management. So I was in the hospitality industry when I first graduated out of school. So he and I opened this property from the ground up out here, and was in Columbia, Maryland, an extended stay America property. So we're working together at this property, first initially as assistant GM, and then he was the manager in training, and then we kind of worked together in that spot. He went on to become assistant GM at another property. But as we worked together, we worked together. I mean, it was just like a hand in glove. We were just like, I'm talking Joe Montana and Jerry Rice type. That's how we were. He knew how to handle this. You take care of this, I'm going to take care of this. We worked together like that. We worked hard. Each of us individually, I know we worked easily 65 to 75 hours a week. We put in that work.
That's a lot.
And that's it. Yeah, that's a lot. That's each of us. That's not just both of us together. That's each of us doing that. And so we were talking about the hospitality industry in this day and time. And we were like, because we've noticed that there's been a shift, but then there's also been this gaping hole of a need for general managers. So he and I was like, they can't handle it. I said, this generation can't handle the work ethic that you need to have, especially that particular industry, because it's 24 hours. It's 24 hours. He and I always laugh, because we can handle any position, losing any employee from any position, because you got to work the front desk, you got to clean rooms. It comes to that. He said the one position that we would like, you want to make sure that you always have, and you want to make them happy, is your night auditor. You want to
absolutely,
make sure
absolutely. I'm so glad you said that. Oh my gosh, that is the most important job in any hotel or motel.
Absolutely,
because of everything that goes on in the middle of the night that most people won't even see, that don't even know happens. And there's so many things that can pop up. There's many times in the middle of the night when I was traveling with my family early on before COVID and stuff, there was a lot of times where things would happen in the middle of the night, and we would just either you would need like extra, especially when you have young kids that pee in the bed, or you've had too much to drink and you pee in the bed. But you don't want to sleep in that. You don't want them to sleep in it. So having
Yep.
someone there that can just automatically go, hey, no problem. We will go get you some new linen. We'll take the old stuff, and just that way you guys can have a nice rest. That
Yeah.
shows a great team member of that hotel and or motel. And these people are just, they're the unsung heroes, or the people that do
Yeah.
the night work. And that's
Yeah.
that leads me into my next question in a way, because we all know that there are good leaders that inspire
Mhm.
us to do things, and because that's the definition of a leader. A leader is someone who inspires you to do things you never thought you could do.
Mhm.
And then, of course,
Mhm.
for the bad leaders, they're not even leaders. I can't even call
Yeah.
them leaders. They are managers.
Mhm. Mhm.
And and a bad manager is someone who just tries to persuade you to do something you really don't want to do.
Mhm.
And that's why when we look at the world today, and I'm not talking about just the Gen Z, the millennials, our generation, the generation before, there's, yes, the newer generations have it a little bit easier than we had when we were growing up, and
Mhm.
every generation says that. That's something that will always happen.
And that's the way,
To
honestly, that's the way it should be. It should be
Exactly,
easier for that next generation than it was
exactly,
for the prior generation.
exactly, and that's why I want to ask you this: is like, why do you think we have so many leaders today using the managerial style of leadership in the workforce? And do you think this style of leadership can work today, or is it just creating more toxic work environments?
Well, I think I don't think it can be sustained, to be honest with you.
Mm,
It
thank
can't be
you.
sustained. Yeah, it can't
Thank
be
you.
sustained. And here's, like you said, here's the difference between a leader and a manager, as you said. Here's what I found to be the characteristics of a leader, and it actually is the acronym leader. It's the L is for someone who listens and learns. The first E is for empower. They empower others to be able to do what it is that they need to do to get their job done. They understand their assignments. They have the ability to articulate that and to give them the tools that they need in order to be able to do what it is that they need to do, or even become leaders themselves.
Mhm.
The A is for assist. They're able to assist people to not only from a personal perspective, but a professional, a personal, I mean, a professional perspective, but also a personal
Mhm.
perspective too. They have the compassion ability to be able to assist them in the things that they need to do, or they have the ability to move them from one level to the next level, preparing them for that next position that they want to move to.
Thank
And
you.
the D is for develop. That's what they do as well. They develop other leaders. They have the ability to develop other leaders, develop
Mhm.
people's skill sets so that they gain something by being under them or working for them and working for them. The second E is for execute. Every leader understands and knows how to execute. I don't have to execute it, but I have the ability to get others to be able to execute what it is that needs to be done. And I always talk about, even though I can't stand them, the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, the coach, can't stand them. I just don't like the Patriots. But I always say this: he is a great coach,
Yes.
because at the end of the day, I don't care what personnel you give him, they're going to
Mhm.
know their assignments. They're going to know where they're supposed to be. They're going to know what they're supposed to do. And they're going to know how to build the ability. Trust me, they're going to be better than what they thought. Like you said, they're going to be better than what they thought they could be, or operate
Mhm.
better than what they thought they could. Why? Because he's assisted them, he's developed them into being able to understand who they are, what they need to do, and be where it is that they need to be at that particular time when it comes to being on the field. He's not going to put somebody on the field that does not know their assignment and know where they need where they need to be.
Right.
That's what you can always say about any of his teams, no matter how, whether you don't like them or do love them, you can always say they're going to be prepared. And That's what a great leader does. And then the R is for results. Great leaders get results.
You
Bottom line,
know,
they get it
you
done.
I love that because I don't think a lot of people really look at that. Is that
Mhm.
when we see a leader, there are so many things that you know come to mind when we have great leaders, because one of the things they are very inspiring.
Right,
They develop you to the point where you can just become a leader yourself later on.
right,
And that's
right,
what makes a good leader, one that cares enough for whoever they're over to, like you said, develop them, inspire them, and just create something better in someone else
right,
beyond whatever they thought they could do. And that is definitely something I really, really appreciate about great leaders. I've had some, like I said, I've had some
yeah.
great leaders in my life, and I have had some toxic leaders in my life. And here's the other thing that I really like about toxic leaders is because they share something about themselves that you don't want to ever be.
Yeah,
So we can always
absolutely.
learn from
Yeah,
toxic leaders too, because then we know, oh, this is the reason why I do what I do, is because I don't want to be like that.
yeah,
I never
yeah,
want to put my people through that.
yeah,
And here's
yeah,
the other thing that we have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that leadership is not just someone who has a position in a business or in the church or in the military, whatever the case may be. A leader is someone who can actually be, someone in the family is a leader. The head of the family is a leader. A someone that is a teacher, that's a leader. There's so many different positions in life that make leaders, and we don't even think about that, but they are. Someone who's actually giving you wisdom and that you want to learn so much more from, that's a leader, because they are doing exactly those things that Dr. Leroy actually said, because they are inspiring you. They are developing you to be better than you were before. They are pushing you beyond your limits
yeah,
and creating something in you that makes you want to go out there and just be a really good leader, a better person. So, saying that, like, being a great leader, means that you have a different perspective than those you are leading to a successful outcome. Like you said earlier, with the coach, of the Patriots, when you can tell somebody something and they just go out and just execute. All you got to just point and they'll execute. They already know the plan. They know what they have to do. And that's something that gives everybody else a glimpse into their perspective, because they already know the goal. They already know what they want to do and where they want to take people. But now it's okay. Here you go. I'm just going to point. You already got your game plan. You already have the mission. Now just execute it. That's all you got to do. But that takes a great perspective outside of the box of thinking, So you remember I had, I once had a captain who, I wish I could remember his name. I wish I could, because he was a good leader. He was a good
mhm,
officer. Um, but he told me a long time ago that you have to be able to see the big picture
yep,
before you can break it down into the steps for your soldiers.
yep,
So when you can do that, then you've created something easier for everybody else to follow. Now, obviously, with your what you just said, like, yeah, I agree with that. But what type of why would you agree with that? What is it of that statement makes? Yes, that is absolutely true
Well,
in your
I
mind.
think no, what it is, I think what he was saying was leaders are one, they're visionaries because they have to see the end before they get you to begin, if that makes
Mhm.
sense to anybody.
Yeah.
And I break it down to like this is they see the vision, they create the vision, they have a plan for the vision, and then they implement how to to bring the vision to reality. That's what a
Mhm.
leader does. They already have the full plan. It's almost like an architect that comes in for you. You want to build a
Mhm.
house. They give you the plan before the house is even up. So that's
Yes.
what your leader does. They give you the plan before you even have to go and execute it. And what the
Mhm.
leader does is put you into position to be able to execute the plan. They say, okay, this is when you talked about your military background and your captain. That's
Mhm.
what they did. They had a
Yes.
vision for what they needed you all to do.
Mhm.
But what they had to, and they had to see that first, but then they had to write that plan out. They had to know what you were going to do. They had to know what your other comrades were going to do before you all even had a thought about what you all were going to do.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
And then what they had to do in the planning, they knew that they had to equip you all to be able to do what it is that they needed you all to do. That's where the
Mhm.
training came in. If they needed you all to go, they say, okay, the best way for us to be able to take this particular position is we've got to be able to do A, B, C, D. Well, they
Mhm.
have to prepare you all to do A, B, C, D. How do you all do A, B, C, D? These are the things that we know that they need to be able to do. So we have to incorporate that into the training that we give to them so that they know when we say go take A, B, C, D, you all know exactly what to do. It's not even a thought. Y'all know exactly what it is that you need to do. There's no hesitation. You know the
Mhm.
assignment. It's go and get it done. Boom, you
Yes.
hear those things. That's why I can say I agree with that.
And it is true. It is so true how it is that, you know, as someone who held a position of leadership, like I said, um, I was put into the position of being a supply chain. It would be considered supply chain management supervisor.
Okay.
In military terms, it's supply unit clerk or supply sergeant. Um, but when I was put in the position of supply sergeant, it was only just because of how much experience I had, um, and all the things that I had done, overseas as well as in the logistical manager's position in at a battalion level instead of a company level. Um, but it was also those things that just really, I wish I could say it, put how much into words, all the people that just made me better because of all the things that they did to put me in
Mm-hmm.
that position and make me someone who, even though I left on bad terms, I took medication that was expired, and when I went to take a drug test, I came up
Mm,
hot. So they had to basically just use me as a, even though everybody knew that I wasn't that type of person, I
right.
still had to go through the
Yeah.
same thing anybody else did. And I was made an
Right.
example, unfortunately. So
Mm-hmm.
because of my medical retirement, instead of going out as a sergeant, I went out the same way I came in, as a
Came
private
in.
first
Okay.
class. And it
Okay.
sucks that way, but I'm glad it happened, because there
Mm-hmm.
are things that happened that got me to where I'm at now. And it
Mm-hmm.
took great leaders in my life and people who supported me in my life to keep me going, keep me doing what I'm doing. And I'm so grateful for those. That's why I love saying that the good times and the bad times are still times that are part of our life. That's
Yeah.
why I say toxic leaders and good leaders are still people you want to listen to, in the sense of, you're going to take the good things from the good leaders and you're going to take the bad things and remind you how to not do that, to be a
Right.
better leader. And here I have to say this because, like I said before, when I first introduced to everybody, if everybody didn't see that part, I apologize again. Technical issues happened, so we're moving on. But this gentleman, I mean, Dr. Leroy C. Mckenzie Jr. I mean, this guy is not only a authorpreneur. He is a president and CEO of JNF Enterprises, which is a distribution, publishing, and business consulting firm located in the Baltimore, Maryland area. And this gentleman, I mean, he is done so much in the time that he started his business. And when I was going through the internet and looking at all the different biographies that you have out there, and one of the things that you talked about was how you allow your faith to keep you not only still humble, but pushes you to be someone that makes a change in the world. And it is those things that, like integrity, faith, drive, that you are pushing into other people to get them to be it. And I don't say, push faith in. I think it is, when I say faith, it's not the belief on push on anybody else, but what comes with our belief as Christians is that you have to take a leap of faith to become something different. Because if you don't, you're just going to be stagnant and you're going to be staying in the same position you've always been. But I wanted to bring up, this gentleman, I mean, when I say authorpreneur, I mean it for a reason, is because of the fact that he's written over 10 books within the time. When did you first start? Like 2004?
2004.
The first one?
Yeah.
And 3 of your books, I'm going off script a little bit here, so bear with me. One of them is Building the 21st Century Company book series. And the company, the customer is not always right, young and gifted, the new generation of entrepreneurship, and the art of leadership. Now, the reason why I bring all 4 of these in is because you have it as this is something that you use to build up your entrepreneurs, all the people that you just mentor in general. And I would love you to actually just explain to me like the 7 strategies of fundamental branding program that you have. And if you could share that with everybody right now, please. I'm interested. I want to know.
Sure. I mean, absolutely. And that idea, the 7 fundamental strategies of branding, came from me wanting to coming to understand, one, what branding was, but to have a process and a procedure in place that not only I use, but then also my clients can use to be able to build a brand, to grow their brand, as well as themselves and the businesses that they have. So I was like, well, let me see what it is that seems to be consistent throughout what I do and how I go about doing the growth. So I just sat down and I started thinking about it. I said, the strategy, the first strategy is partnerships, collaborations, and sponsorships. That's, who do I partner with? Who can I collaborate with? What events do I maybe want to even sponsor as a company? Because that's a part of getting your brand out there as well. If my name is on those big banners, people start to see who it is, who I am. And as a consequence of that, of course, you get to step on stage, you get to talk about your business, or you get to talk about your business in interviews like this and everything like that, or events that are coming up. People want to talk to you about being a sponsor on, at a particular event. So that's one. The second one is technology. How do you use technology and the platforms that technology presents to you to be able to get your, to get your name, to get your brand out there, i.e. Podcast, social media platforms, YouTube, all of those things that we can use, that technology piece that we talk about so much, using it to our advantage, because it's a great tool. Technology is a great tool. It can drive you crazy when it doesn't work,
Yes,
but
as we've seen, as we have seen today.
I know,
But again, like I said, I'm on par between the first one and this one. I'm on par, so I'm going to take it.
So technology, using technology to grow your brand and get the exposure. It has been Technology has become the great equalizer when it
Yes.
comes to small businesses versus big businesses because
Yes.
like we could, as you know, right now I can be sitting in my living room just as I am now, and I can be doing business with someone over in Africa.
Yep.
Boom, just like that.
And that's
Just
something
like
that
that.
others
So
didn't have before.
correct.
We've had,
Right.
where you can do teleconferences and stuff like that,
Yeah, but nothing to this
but
level.
nothing like this until
Yeah.
something bad happened
Yep.
and it just
Yeah.
threw us into a whole different loop. But please, yeah,
Yeah.
continue. Sorry.
Yeah. You have that. So technology is the second piece. The third piece is what I call it's a third and fourth. They kind of go together. It's your events calendar and your calendar of events. Let me explain the difference. Your events
Mhm,
calendar are things that you as a business put on. That means
mhm,
certain things that you're doing with your business to promote your business. You might have an event that you do that
mhm,
whether it's we got Christmas coming up, so you have different sales that are coming on. You want to promote your business and everything like that. So it's those events that you put on as a business, as a brand, so that people can know who you are. Then your calendar of events is whose calendar are you on? I was on your calendar for today to be able to
mhm,
talk about my book. So what are those events? What are those different aspects of business or events that are going on that you can go to network? You and I belong to
mhm.
Clubhouse, the same
Yep.
one of the same Clubhouse rooms. That's where we go to network. Where we go to
Yep.
network, we give our expertise as well as get expert information and knowledge that we use.
Mhm.
So those things like that are your calendar of events. Those are things that you place on your calendar so that you're in certain rooms or you're at certain events so that you can network, so that you can get the exposure that you need in order to be able to get people to know who you are and what you do.
Yes.
The next one is promotions. How do you promote your brand? What is it? Do you put packages? How do you put packages together? Do you have workshops or do you have master classes? I partnered, and this is how show you how this strategy thing works. I have a master class that I'm doing next year at the end of in March going into April. I partnered with two other business associates of mine to do this master
Nice.
class. So
Nice.
what do? We partnered together or collaborated. We're using technology to promote it because we're going to be doing all kinds of different spots where we're doing lives. We have the flyers that we put out, all of those things. I'm on here talking about it right now. So we have those different aspects of technology that we use to promote it. It's one of my events calendar. It's one of my events that I'm putting on because JNF is me. So that's what I
Mhm.
do. And then it's also a calendar of events because it's on their events too. Because as they talk about the event, they're not only talking about themselves, they're going to be talking, I get included in that talking because I'm one of the speakers. I'm one of the ones doing the master class. So that goes down to the promotions. All of
Mhm.
that ties into what I'm talking about. And then of course there's your products and services. What products and services do you offer? Have this, the physical book. You can
The
see that.
product. Yep.
Yeah, that's the product that you have. Or do I want to, what can I, how to add to, you go to McDonald's. McDonald's has had the same menu for a number of years: Big Mac, cheeseburger, hamburger. But
The
if
classics.
you've noticed
Yep.
over the past several years, as people have gotten to want to eat healthier, they've added salads. They'll have a
Mhm.
promotion for the McRib when they want to bring that when
Mhm.
they want to bring that out from time to time.
Ugh,
So yeah, I know, right?
yeah.
But they want to add
Here's
they add that to their menu. But it's about
yeah.
understanding what can you add to your products and services, or do you need to add anything to your products and
Yeah.
services? And your clients will tell you that if there's something that they particularly need that you don't offer, you're like, well, man, maybe that's something that I do need to kind
Yeah.
of add to what I'm doing. and it can assist you in being able to add another string to your bottom line. So, those are the things. And then the last one is just the culture, the brand new culture. It's those three fundamental things
Yep.
that you want people to think about when it comes to your brand. And mine is enlighten, empower, and impact. Everybody knows that when they hear the name JNF Enterprises LLC, they know that they're going to get something that enlightens them, empowers them, impacts them. It's going to teach you something, it's going to equip you with something, and then it's going to impact you to want to do something. So those are the seven strategies.
I'm so glad that I said that, because so I asked you that, because that's ladies and gentlemen, I want to show you what a leader is. That right there, right in front of you, I'm giving him on a silver platter for you. That is a leader, because he's taking all of his life experience and everything that he's seen, and he is packaging it up into wisdom for you. And I'm glad you also brought up McDonald's, because yes, they've had the same things on there over and over again. It really doesn't change too much, but it's how they package it.
Yep.
It's the packaging that has changed through the generations.
Right.
The Big Mac has been around since like the
years,
late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
It's still around. Nothing's changed ingredients wise. Yep. Now we just know what's in a little bit more.
I know, right?
Sometimes I really don't want to know. But
yeah,
it's still the same package, still the same thing. It's just packaged different through the years. And that is something else that we can always look at when we're trying to express and inspire others to do things that they didn't think that they could do. And that's part of inspiring people around you, because you can take the same thing and just package it a different way to others around you. And that is a great leader, because they can realize, while looking at the culture, they can see, okay, this package is probably not going to it's not going to work well for them, but everything in it can. I just need to repackage it in a different light so that they can grab it. And I'm glad we went into this, because it comes into one of my last questions for you is like, in the story that we've presented out to everybody, every story has a meaning behind it, and every author prays that their readers will clearly understand the meaning that they're putting out. So what knowledge or feelings do you want them to walk away with after reading your book? And what knowledge and feelings do you want people to know about you and feel about you as the author?
Well, one, at the first part of the question, what I want the reader to come away with is the understanding of the definition of leadership. And I start the book off with giving the definition of leadership, because so many of us don't understand what leadership is. And I think that's what we run into in this 21st century, and what prompted me to want to write the book. Do we really understand leadership? And it came from, like you said, those three pillars that you talked about, of where we see how we saw leaders. That's what I saw. I saw those leaders that were equipped and called to lead. Those who were, like, yeah, I'm here, but I just kind of, okay, I'm gonna go along with it. But then those that I saw, like you said, those toxic leaders, they have no business of having any kind of title in front or behind their name, because they weren't equipping individuals to be who it is that they will be, whether it's, like we said, the family, in government, education, business, or the church. Any of those those different different types of things that we talked about, but being a leader, because to me, those titles that I just gave you, that's the community. The community is comprised of family, education, government, business, and the church. So in order for us to be leaders and to have our communities be successful, we have to have leaders in each of those, the right type of leaders in those positions. In the family, our family's got to be right.
Absolutely.
Educational system, we have to have those teachers that are right. We've got to have government officials that are right. We've got to have business owners and entrepreneurs that are right, and then church leaders that are right. So if
Absolutely.
you read this, if you pick up this book, I'm trust me, you can relate to one of those positions, whether it's the
Oh yeah.
family, government, education, business, or the church. And you
Yeah,
can say, wow,
absolutely.
this is somebody, this is who I am, or this is who I plan on being. In some kind of capacity, you're going to be a leader in one of those different ways. So I want you to come away with an understanding of what it is to be a leader in one of those or all of those positions that you might happen to be in. That's what I want the reader to come away with. What they think about me is like, hey, he might know a little something. He might know a little bit about what he's talking about, because I hope that I typify the empower part, which is when you empower someone, you equip them to do something. So hopefully they will see that they've been equipped and that I have equipped them to be a leader in whatever capacity that they're going to be a leader in. So I'll say that.
Man, you couldn't put it any better. I love that answer, because here's the thing, it's always going to be different. I'm never going to change that last question because it's going to be different for everybody. Every author, every
absolutely.
person is different. So
Yeah.
now that leads us into the lightning round. I love
Okay.
this because I got this off of another show a long time ago. It's like lightning rounds. We're going to throw some questions at you. And, these questions, ladies and gentlemen, each week I will be asking our guest authors 5 questions that will not only give our audience a glimpse of the author behind the book and inspire the next generation of writers who are either watching us live now on Facebook and YouTube or YouTube, excuse me, can't do either one, or listen to us later on the Beyond the Pen podcast when I actually get it up and running, because I believe I truly believe that when we get to know not only the book and the story behind the book, but also the author, there's such a connection there between reader and writer that is so important to build and to keep improving on. So, question 1: what person, event, or book inspired your literary journey? And it's been a long one for you, obviously, with the 10 books, Entrepreneur, that could also help inspire others to do the same.
Wow. Well, the first one I'm gonna say is the Bible. To be honest with you,
There you
that
go.
one is
Best-selling book
is.
of all time.
And here's the thing. My favorite book in the Bible is Proverbs and Psalms, the book of Psalms. It has such a, for those of us, it has such a roller coaster. Just it takes you on a ride, man. To all of the, and then of course Proverbs has the wisdom that's in it, and there's so much that I take from it. So that's the first book, but the second book, and I didn't come across this book until maybe like several years ago, and I wish I'd found this book when I first started writing. But it's Dr. King's book, Where Do We Go From Here?
Oh, that's such a good book.
Chaos or Community. This book totally just blew my mind when I read it. Here's how you can tell someone's a great writer. And this is how I thought Dr. King was such a great writer. As I'm reading this book, I could hear him saying the things that I'm reading in this book. It's his voice literally saying it. It's just like you ever go to a concert and you have this image of somebody singing, and then when you go to the concert, they sound just like the CD. It's nothing like it. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And that's what this book did for me, because he gave us the blueprint for how we how we as a community can build, how we connect, how we grow, and how we can be successful as leaders.
Yes.
It's all right there in his book, and I was just like, oh my gosh! I mean, I could name a number of other books. Reginald F. Lewis book, Why Should the White Men Have All the Fun? Just, I mean, the first billionaire,
Wow.
first man, black billionaire, or put together $1 billion deal. Just, I mean, that book. I mean, say changed my life. It just showed me what
Mhm.
what I could be, because it was the first man
Yes.
that I saw that looked like me, that was a billionaire, or put a billion
Yes.
dollar deal together. It's just, those are just a couple of the books that inspired me to want to do what I do, in the literary form that they did in
Mhm.
the literary form too.
Yeah, that those are awesome. I love those. All
Yeah.
right, question 2. What are some common traps for aspiring writers that either had in your personal journey that you either had in your personal journey, excuse me, or you've seen others have?
One, don't fall into the trap of I know it all. don't fall into
Yes.
the trap that don't fall into the trap that I can do it all, because
Mhm.
you can't. And then the third thing is um don't procrastinate. That's the one that
Mm.
hits me. Because I've been guilty of doing that. Don't
Mhm.
procrastinate. So those are three quick things that I would say. Don't fall into that trap of think that you know it all. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that you have to do it all. Have a
Mhm.
great team around you. Have great people around you. I call it your circle of impact. Those people
Yes.
that are around you that you can pour into, and then that also pour into you. And then don't fall into that trap of procrastination.
And this is why I love that. I love those, because here's question 3, and this leads into question 2. That's why I have it like this. It's
Okay.
so great. What is your writing kryptonite?
I just said it. Procrastination.
There you
It
go.
really is. That's
Eh,
my kryptonite. I gotta admit it. It's just like sometimes I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I gotta get to it. I gotta get to it. I gotta get to it. And
Yep.
then it's like,
Yep.
oh man, I gotta do this.
Yep.
So that so I will admit, that's why I could give the third one. That's why I could give the don't fall into
See,
the trap of procrastination.
that's going to be, I'm probably going to say this. I'm going to say this right now, and I'm going to hold myself to it later on as I get more guests, but I'm pretty sure that's probably going to be the number one answer of all authors is procrastination. All right. Question number 4. If you could tell your younger self anything, what would it be?
Wow. One of it would be never stop believing. And keep writing. Keep writing. Your influence and your impact is coming.
That's awesome.
That's simple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. And last but not least, question number 5. What quote inspires you to continue writing, or even just inspires you to be the best you can be?
Well, the one that inspires me the most is the one that I mentioned, Reginald F. Lewis's book, and I say it inspires me the most to keep writing. One, because of who he was and what he accomplished in the small time. Because he died, I think, when he was 50, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. I think he was very young. He was young when he passed away, but he had accomplished so much in the years that he, and he was just such a gifted man. He was a gifted man, and accomplished so much and did so much for others, and paved the way for folks like me to be
Yeah.
able to write and to be able to do what it is that I do. And who am I not to pour into others as he poured in just in his book, has poured into me. So,
So is
I would
there a
say that.
certain quote? Is there a certain quote that he has that's pushed you?
Um honestly, the title of his book, Why Should White Men Have All the Fun?
There you go. That says it.
Hey,
Okay, there you go. It works.
yeah,
It
hey.
works. I'm not going to say no to that one.
I
Why
want to
should
have fun too.
Exactly. Wise limits. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Leroy Mckenzie Jr., and being my guest today and sharing with us the story behind your book, The Art of Leadership: Success Strategies for the 21st Century Leader. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the link for his Amazon account on there that you can go over there and buy this book. I mean, it's not expensive. It's there's so, for all the knowledge that he's got in there, it's worth the price. I mean, it's going to come back to you tenfold, 100-fold later on in your life as soon as you get this book, put it into your life, and just run with it. So, Mr. Leroy, the floor is yours. Please tell everyone where they can find you online and anything you would like to close the show with.
Well, first, Maccabee, thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate you having me on and having this discussion that you and I both have talked about, that we said that is one that needs to be had when it comes to leadership. Folks can check us out at the website www.jnfenterprises.com. If you want to contact me, you can email me at jnfenterprisesllc@gmail.com. I'm on social media on Facebook, JNF Enterprises, and my name, Dr. Leroy Mckenzie Jr., as well as Instagram. What's Up Baltimore magazine is there on LinkedIn under Dr. Leroy Mckenzie Jr., and then also Twitter at JNF Enterprises 1, and then my YouTube as well. YouTube JNF Enterprises. So pretty much JNF Enterprises is everything. And the website, you can connect with me through any of those means. If you have any questions, or if you, like I said, you want to get the books, you can certainly do that through any of those means, or connect with me directly, and we'll be able to get the signed copies to you directly as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. I should say Dr. Leroy Mckenzie Jr. I appreciate you so much. I look forward to having you on in the later future, because I know that we have to hit some of your other books just to give us all that wisdom. And I like I said, I truly appreciate you being here. Thank you again.
No, absolutely. Thank you, man. Anytime, man. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome to your kickoff to your show. Congratulations on that as well. I'm excited, excited for you. I mean, it's gonna be you're gonna get flooded with authors and take this. You're gonna have so many different conversations, man. I'm telling you, it is going to be wonderful to hear the stories behind the stories. So enjoy it, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely.
I am. Believe me, I'm enjoying this as much as I can right now. Thank you. Thank you again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am telling you, if I can do this, I am telling you right now, you have to go out and get this book. Like I said, the link for the book is in the descriptions. Please join us again. I want everyone to, that is watching now, or those who will be watching or listening later, to join us next week as we talk to another inspiring author to share not only their book and themselves, but the inspiring stories behind it. Until next time, remember to keep writing, keep inspiring, and keep sharing as you go beyond the pen. Thank you. Good night. Merry Christmas. Oh, I almost forgot. Please watch this again. I am going to be, because of the holiday season, I'm going to be running the first episode on Christmas Day, and on New Year's Day, I will be running this one again. So everyone's going to have a chance to rewatch and enjoy. Thank you all. God bless you all, and I'll see you next week. Bye.